for you. Stick around. You're listening to CBC Radio 2 Drive.
This is CBC News. I'm Tatar Sirs. Ontario's Liberal Premier Kathleen Wynne has shot back at Stephen Harper after he criticized her performance as Premier at the outset of the
relationship with Stephen Harper has been a difficult one. I have tried to work with him. The fact is that it has deteriorated. And so what I am saying now is that we need someone in that chair as the Prime Minister who understands that working with provinces, that relationship is important to the country.
Now, some political analysts say that Harper's attacks this week on Wynne and on Alberta's NDP Premier Rachel Notley are part of a strategy to appeal to the traditional Tory base. Meanwhile, Donald Trump continues to make headlines today after his performance at last night's Republican debate in Cleveland. And it's not just for what he said in the debate, but his reaction after.
Also, GSO coming up. So countdown breakdown of the Saints Royal Kickbox Course 23 for Las Vegas Hold'em against Daniels. Up next.
Call women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, sloths, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
Two Republican candidate Carly Fiorina called out Trump for his behavior.
I have said for some time that no one who claims to represent our party should ever be judgmental in tone or vitriolic or angry.
Elect Trump or hate him, people tuned in. 24 million of them, making it the highest rated non-sporting event in U.S. cable history. Steve Souza, CBC News, New York.
Let me tell you something.
Overseas, the UN's refugee agency says that migrants crossing the Mediterranean arrive to Greece only to find total chaos and unbearable suffering. It's calling for immediate action to deal with what it says is a deepening humanitarian crisis. Vincent Cochetel is the agency's director for Europe, and he described the situation on one of the Greek islands.
The level of suffering that we have seen on the island was unbearable. People arrived thinking they are in the European Union. What we've seen was not anything that is acceptable in terms of standards of treatment. There is absolutely nothing waiting for them.
The UN says 50,000 migrants arrived in Greece in July alone. ISIS militants have gained control of another key town near the Syrian city of Homs. According to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, they have also taken about 230 civilian hostages. Some of the hostages were taken from a monastery. Others were refugees trying to flee violence elsewhere in the country. And finally, thousands of athletes from more than 24 countries are in Toronto to start the Para-Pan Am Games today. Organizers and para-athletes hope the competition will be every bit as successful as the recent Pan Am Games. Chris O'Neill-Yates reports.
Canada's women's wheelchair basketball team gets into practice before the games begin. Team member Janet McLaughlin said the team spends 5 to 6 hours a day training on the court.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that we don't train as hard as able-bodied sports, and that is untrue.
Ambassador to the Para-Pan Am Games, David Onley, has a disability and uses a scooter to get around. Onley believes para sport popularity is on the rise. He said during the last games in London, ratings and attendance were at an all-time high.
Here in Toronto, we'll see, but the buzz is still there on the street.
About 75,000 of the 200,000 tickets available have been sold. Organizers are hoping, as in the Pan Am Games, that there will be a brisk uptake in last-minute ticket sales. Chris O'Neill-Yates, CBC News, Toronto.
And I should mention that CBC is carrying tonight's opening ceremony. Coverage has already started on CBC television. It's also being live streamed at cbc.ca/parapanam and on the CBC Sports app. And that is CBC News.